I'm reiterating that we are celebrating on this cruise the 8th anniversary of this very important historical day, the D-Day events. And today we thought it would be nice to bring all our speakers together in regards to this theme and actually have the top of the top actually help us coordinate the questions and the answers. And so I want to just give a big round of applause again for Commander Bradshaw, sorry. Also Dr. Miller, big round of applause. Ms. Luz, big round of applause. And the person hosting all of this, ladies and gentlemen, Kimberly, big round of applause. Thank you.
Are you okay sat here, guys? I'm sorry I've got my back to you, if you're happy with that, thank you. And just remember that you can see all of our lectures, I think, on TV later on if you wanted to, so if you missed any of them, then do feel free to do that. But it's my honour to have these three fantastic people together, each of which I've already heard speak, just to get their insights and allow them to chat together. So if you'll indulge us, we hope to keep you entertained for the next 45 minutes or so. Thank you. Of course, we should start with Dr. Miller. And I wanted to ask you, if I may, to start with. It will do. I'm sure as soon as I stop talking, I'll probably let you start. Okay, here we go. There you go. What one thing do you want this audience to know most about you?
That I'm so grateful to have the gift of life that keeps on giving, and I have about 35 more years, and the possibilities are endless. And again, attitude helps a lot, and I'm so lucky to be me. And I don't brag, I just share.
And to that end, I think it's reasonable to say, some people would say more mature. I prefer to say more experienced. I think it's fair to say that you're nearly 91 years old. What's your advice to others about life lessons?
When I went to Israel, because my culture, Austro-Romanian, is pretty much the culture like in the States or in England. Be polite, don't hurt people's feelings. So in Israel, when I came a young girl, no manners, dugri. They say what they think, and to them there is no failure. So I emulated it. So don't tell me I cannot do it. That is the name of my second book. For students I lecture. So it's like the possibilities are endless and traditions are very strong. It's important to have rules, but follow your heart. And those of you that are going to come on Tuesday and hear me talk about wellness, I'm going to sing you the song that I composed in my 90s.
Oh, can we have a little taste? Can we have a little taste of it now?
I could.
Go on.
Okay. Age is just a number, look at me. I'm only 90, going on 123. Age is a gift, age is a gift and mystery, full of possibility. Celebrate the journey where it takes. If I can do it, so can you. If I can do it, you can too. If I can do it, so can you. All you ever have to do, just be true to who you are, and then your heart will take you far. If I can do it, so can you. And there is more, but I just wanted a sample, and I'm going to have you sing with me.
Fantastic, thank you. Should we turn to Robert Bradshaw? I very much enjoyed your lecture, Robert, and you talked about all sorts of things that we can get into, but I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about the many lessons that war teaches us and what you've learned during that time.
The biggest thing is, and I knew this, but you say learn, it gets enriched, and it's just the value of every human being, no matter where they are and what their story is. It's important that we all know that. Genealogies are written often in our ancient literature, in our religious literature. Those are important. and the stories that we have, even those I've met here, as amazing stories. And so that's the most thing. It's just a deeper love for people. That we're all created with equal dignity, equal worth, and a masterpiece. And I think that's important. That's why I like to share.
I wondered if you could share with the audience. Indeed. I wonder if you might be able to share with our group this afternoon about the loss of a sensational human being, Adam Brown, who you talked about. Who was he and what happened?
So Adam Brown's one I referred to in my lecture, who died on St. Patrick's Day in 2010. And I barely got to know Adam because I had just checked into the command and deployed already. And so he came out with the next group, and I sent my reserve chaplain. But I knew enough of him already just by meeting him. He's bigger than life, a man of great faith, a wonderful story. Again, I refer to his book, Fearless. It's the only book about SEALs I recommend. Fearless, written by Eric Glenn. And it's about his life. It's not about buds or an operation. It's about a life. And again, life is important. And Adam was bigger than life. And when we lost Adam, it really took the wind out of our sails. And even for me, I remember they sent me to train in New York City on my own. I'm going to this class today. I'm sitting in Times Square, and I'm like, I can't do this to my wife. I saw the vacuum that he did, and I just remember in my calling and my spirit was like, it's not over yet. You're supposed to continue to serve, which is interesting. Adam was in the same, we'll call it troop, that we lost 15 months later. And so his life changed a lot of those men's life before they met their end as well. So just a bigger life guy, is humble, would give you anything. You saw if you were here, you saw the Afghan children he was loving on. What you didn't see is the hundreds of pairs of shoes he gave out. So elite operator who we loved. And so that's who he is.
Amazing, thank you. And George, where did the journey begin for you? We learned a lot about Band of Brothers and your father, but what about you? Tell me about you.
Well, I was very fortunate. My dad and mom took us kids to the reunions. Now, the men got together every year since 1946. So the war ended in 45. And the very next year, the 101st Airborne got together in Indianapolis, Indiana. And in 1965, I went on my first reunion, and I talked about it a little bit. And then in 1968, I got a chance to go again in 1970. And so as the years clicked by, I was able to meet all of these guys and their wives. And there wasn't a lot of kids. I was only one of the few kids that was there for some reason. And so I was really fortunate enough to do that. And because the reunions were every year, there was conversation throughout the year. My dad would transfer Christmas cards with his buddies, and there would be communication back and forth with phone calls and letters. And so there was always conversations going on that he would share at the dinner table. And for some reason, he always kept every piece of paper that came his way. And it gives me an opportunity to reflect back on some of the things I wasn't maybe 100% paying attention to as a kid. So, and then in the 80s, I got a chance to go to a reunion as an adult. I was 23 years old, and so I got a chance to meet the men at a different level, which was great. And then several of the men had brought their daughters there who were kind of my age. So I was, crazy in my 20s, and so I got a chance to meet some of Buck Compton's daughters, Walter Gordon's daughters, Don Malarkey's daughter, and so it was really neat. And then over the days, weeks, months, and years, this family has grown to the kids. So now we continue getting together every year with the kids, the sons, daughters, grandsons, and granddaughters of these veterans, and we get the chance to learn a little bit more about them whenever we get a chance.
Tell me, George, did you ever talk to your father about the war?
Well, he would share stuff. I wasn't smart enough. I think you brought up something interesting today about curiosity, so I wrote that down. I'm not sure if I'm sometimes curious enough. Sometimes maybe I am, but so Dad would, he did share some crazy things, some crazy stories with me. I wish I would have had the same technology we had today. But he did pen some memoirs down on some paper, and so some of the stories he did tell me, it's kind of looking back fondly at the funny memories. One quick story was I met one of my high school teachers who knew my dad early on. When he was just out of college, he worked with my dad for a defense contractor. And he came up to me at a wedding or something like that, Mr. Waddell, and he said, I used to work with your father, and he used to tell me all these crazy stories about World War II. And he said, it wasn't until the series came out that I found out that they were all true. So anyway, so I'm blessed to have a wealth of background that I can reach back into the bin of letters and cards and the stories. So it's and like something that we had talked about, Robert and I, we have a story to tell, and all of you do as well. So
exactly that. I noticed that you're also a prolific note taker, aren't you?
I try to. I can't remember a thing. My wife will always tell me that. She'll say, "You're losing your mind." It's like, honey, you're wrong. It's already gone. It's already gone. So. But yeah, I like to take notes because, hey, everyone has, some little piece of gold to share. And
Fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
that's right. I wrote that one down. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Did you remember that one, right?
Yeah.
Fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Exactly.
That is super.
I also say to my team that I work with, always do 100% of the research. You're only ever going to need 10%, but you don't know which 10% you're going to need. So make sure you do the work. Dr. Miller, can you take me back to your early life and tell me about some of your memories from then? Are you happy to talk about that? Do you want to use your microphone, my darling?
I'd like
Do you want to use your microphone, my darling?
No, I'm okay, but I'm observing myself.
Okay.
Oh,
It's fine, it's fine. You got it.
I have it. I'm like a laboratory. I mean, as you age, and age is a number, we all know that already. But certain things like this throat, when I talk a lot, and I've been talking quite a bit, that's what I have my voice hurt. That's my job in this world. So sometimes my vocal cord are a little bit tight. So they were talking to me so quickly, I thought before you ask me next questions, I'm going to take a throat lozenge, which I got in Holland because I was out of mind. So I'll be fine. Give me a second. And you asked me stories to tell?
Yeah, I wondered about the challenges in your early life, and you were just a young girl, and you saw, I'm sure, such horrendous images, but I wondered how much you might want to share as far as that's concerned.
But before I do that, as a Holocaust survivor, not survivor, it should be the word, many cannot talk about their experiences. They literally, I had this one friend in Poland that they were digging their own grave, and so she was little, probably 7 or 8, and she did not want to die. So her mother said, "Come, let's all die together." But she ran away, and she was then part of the Russian whatever. But she never could talk about it. And her kids, my kids' friends, because there's nothing off the table. Fortunately, I'm so detached that I saw the things, but I do not, and it does not slow me down. But so many Holocaust, they could not tell their stories. And I was telling Robert that my sister, 5 years older, she was beaten down all her life as my mother, nightmares, Gestapo. And to me, how lucky am I? Literally, I'm fearless. So that nobody ever, I ran 10 mental health clinics. I had 40 psychologists, psychiatrists working for me. Nobody ever asked me about my past because it's a known fact. Many survivors, they cannot even talk about it. So when my sister was interviewed by Spielberg for the documentary, she said, "Why don't you do it also?" So when I saw it there, I said, "You told this story already." you know, I don't need to. I didn't want to. But then I saw the video, and I was so sad for her because she was beaten down all her life. And her family, the husband and kids, they didn't respect her. They always did to say, why aren't you more like Auntie Erica? So it's like telling the story is really important because it's a story of not survival and beyond. So yeah, what I got out of it, but it's not negative, and I'm not in La La Land. Attitude has a lot to do with it, but it's like I never fit in. It's very sad, I don't belong. I'm the citizen of the world, but I never feel I have a good family, good kids, 5 grandkids, great, but I really feel I cannot count on anybody, and I'm so independent. So when I had a car crash, I call the automobile club. I don't call my daughter or my son. So it's just some of us, it is about how we're put together. Environment is important. And if there is a God, destiny, I know there's a God now because I struggled with that. But it's like I'm not connected. If you were to be my neighbor, I would hang out with you and have deep philosophical conversation. But other than that, I don't need you. I want you. And so it's like I've been wounded. Mother, you don't have any friends. Why bother? When I was in the Air Force, are you kidding me? All those handsome pilots? And my first boyfriend, because again, don't get close, never wanted to get married. Why bother? They die on you. To me, meaning to life is death. So how destiny would have it, Aaron, a pilot, adorable. We never went all the way. I kept myself a virgin. I told you that before. It was important for me. But after 6 months, he was shot down and killed. So that again, enforced again, you can never rely. Why bother? So my story is, because I'm human, when I cut, I bleed and I have feelings, but my outwardly strengths and my not count on anybody, and I'm not alone. I have family. I have people that call them, not my friends, they're all dead or in retirement places, but they're all affected. You don't have to be in a camp in order to, but that resilience, how grateful I am to be me. So when I say I don't brag, I share. Because again, it is a matter of degree, as is OC or anything, that I'm so highly functioning and I'm so high on life without drugs.
Yeah, it was very interesting when I met these fabulous people for the first time yesterday, behind the scenes with Raphael, the entertainment director, and he said to Dr. Miller, "You're very beautiful," and she said, "I know." It's true, and she is.
I'm really playful. No, because it needs laughter. And I'm not rejectable. And I know everybody's not attracted to me physically. And I'm 90 something. And I'm open for love. It's crazy. I'm in love with the universe. So don't go there.
Okay. Let me go to Robert though. And Robert, as part of your speech, you talked about the worst day, and you hinted at it a little bit earlier, didn't you? And that was the 6th of August, 2011. I wondered if you could share with people who didn't know what happened, and also perhaps tell us how that questions your faith.
So in August 6, 2011 was the largest loss of life in Naval Special Warfare history. We had a Chinook that was shot down as they were going in to get some bad guys. And the Rangers were doing a great job to the left, and then so my guys went in to do that, and just right before they landed, there's actually a nonprofit called 3 Seconds Out. That's how much time they had. They'd been on the LZ in 3 seconds. The tail rotor was shot with a RPG, and then violence, and we lost them all. And so it's 38 personnel total, 30 Americans, 8 Afghan partners, and Bart, our military working dog. We knew our dogs well, so we really had fun with them in the off time when we had it. But yes, that was a very difficult situation for many reasons. One, I knew these men well, and I loved them. And my wife and I had just attended a barbecue where we met some of their families that I had not met yet, and all preparation for about 45 days worth of funerals, and then the ceremony at Arlington, where we buried 13 chose to be buried in Arlington. We did them all at once. The color guards. It was amazing what folks did, and to see the good of folks who come in and rally around these families, and to meet these families all over the United States and Hawaii. I think they logged 45,000 miles for me during this season. One of that is a trip to Afghanistan and back, so that adds in pretty quickly. But just wonderful, wonderful men, family men. You would think an elite unit there might be some arrogance, but there's a minimal. They were just wonderful people. They knew what they were doing. They were gifted and skilled for what they were doing, and they did it well. And then you ask about faith. I think it's strengthened my faith. Again, you see the best of people sometimes in the worst of times. And then in my tradition, it talks about a seed has to die and be buried for growth to happen. And even out of this loss, the amount of nonprofit organizations that are helping people are amazing. The Brian Bill Foundation, and Brian was from Connecticut, but his dad is running a foundation in Florida for warriors from the Special Operation Command world with PTSD and PTS. And then you meet other wonderful people. I believe in the trichotomy of the human being, mind, body, and spirit. So you get to work with amazing psychologists, amazing medical professionals. So you just see the very best. It hurts. So what do? You honor them. You never forget. You go to reunions, you go to different events in Arlington, and you tell their story to wonderful people who paid to come on a cruise to commemorate, a great day in history. It really gives us what we have today, freedom.
I'm not supposed to interview, but may I just ask you?
Of course you can, absolutely.
Do you believe
Please
in
use your
hereafter?
microphone.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful. See, but maybe you can send it to me. Woo! And then, because to me, I want to live forever, and it sucks because in between we're born to die, and in between life is an adventure. But I hate this thought. I don't want to ever die. So I live. I'm in the moment. So I don't have the comfort of, someday. Yeah, what do I know? In a different way. Nothing is lost in the universe, I get it, but it doesn't give me comfort. I just want to be here with you. If you went to my neighbor, I want to be with all of you. I want to be with myself, but I don't like the thought that I had no control when I was born. That's okay, but I will not have the control except if I would kill myself, and I don't see me ever doing that, that I have no say when I die. So if I were to someday, and I'm open, some way that it's not the end, because nothing is the end in the universe. So I'm going to shut up. But again, that's your job.
Thank you. We'll come back to that towards the end of our 45 minutes today. George, I want to come back to you, if I may. And you shared with me a paragraph or two from, I wondered if you might be able to share that with the audience this afternoon. It was very touching.
Yeah, this was from Bill Gagne. Okay, so Wild Bill, if you saw the series, Wild Bill, my mom used to, identify Bill as gruff. And he was a great, great guy. He was one of the catalysts that when the reunion spun off from the division reunion to just E Company, Bill, I credit with the one that kept it all together. And he was a remarkable guy. Bill did come to my dad's services in Rhode Island when my dad was killed. And in his book, this kind of encapsulates what the men together endured. And here it goes. When the men get together, nobody talks much about the war. We talk about the families and what we've been doing. If something comes up that has to do with the war, we look at each other. We don't have to say a word. You give a guy a hug or a squeeze, it's understood. You were both there, and you both know. If you're a combat veteran, war never leaves you. Every Christmas you spend it in Bastogne. Whether you know it or not, you spend it there. It's in your mind, body, and soul. In September you think of Holland too, but it's not the same as Bastogne. That was the most haunting part of the war. What happened there remains inside every one of us.
May I ask you how your father's passing impacted on you?
So Dad, he didn't die, he was killed. I guess it's just a little different. It's one thing, your loved one has cancer and you go through a process. But, I saw Dad on Wednesday. We get together every Wednesday, Mom and Dad. And for anybody who lives in the Northeast, Wednesday is Prince Spaghetti Day. And I do my laundry. I used to do my laundry on Wednesdays. Bring it, Mom would do it. And then, so anyway, I said goodbye to my dad on that night. As I walked out, take care of Dad. All right, George. And the next day, we find out, he was killed. And over that few day period, you process a lot of stuff, and we've all had to process this kinds of stuff. And I remember at the funeral, the place was full, and that moment, there was a guy. He was assisting the priest. He was kind of like the altar boy, but he was a guy. And I don't remember, I've never seen the guy. And I just remember him as the priest was finishing the mass and they were getting ready to turn the casket around and push it down. He was rubbing the thing, that casket, with tears coming down his eyes, and he said, "Goodbye, George." And at that moment, I said, I've just been kind of flying around through life, enjoying life, but just flying around through life. And life has meaning. And at that moment there, I just said, I'm going to take this moment and do everything my father would do going forward and just be more cognizant of what's going on and just be a better person. So from since then, that's what I've done is really had the courage to step out of my comfort zone and do more stuff. All the things that he would have done, I've decided I would do. And I've been able to do that with the help of my wife, Susan.
That's amazing. And you speak about Susan often and very fondly, and I'm sure she's an absolutely sensational. Is she here?
She is.
Oh,
she's
where
right
are you,
over there to
Susan?
the right next
Can you
to
stand up?
George. There's another
Can you
George.
stand up? Go on. Yeah. There you go. That's Susan. Let me go back to you, Robert, if I may. How does humour help when you're in the midst of battle?
Well, so you lose all the comforts at home, and so you kind of make fun of something or someone. You gotta have thick skin, and then for my benefit and blessing was being with so many other countries, working together. And I did share, if you missed it, I shared a story of our British LNO, who's a special forces from England, who during the election was making fun of our 2016 election. And I walked in and he's like, hey chaps, I have an idea for you. And he's like, let's make America Great Britain again. And so, we laughed and we had a good time. And then even my first time with Marines, we went to Haiti. That was before my deployment, and picked up a Catholic priest who's from Canada. We often get support from all over the place because we're not all the same faith. And we're riding through this manifest, and we all of a sudden look around. He left his person with the gun behind. I left my guy with the gun behind. And this crazy manifestation is happening in the streets. And I looked at the driver and I said, "Are we safe?" And he's like, "We are now." And he floors it and everybody runs out of the way. And so we're joking about, we ran off without, because we can't carry guns. We ran off without our armed people. And And I could go on and just simply, whether it's the smells that you have to kind of make fun of. Now, none of you stink, as in my guys, because we all smell the same. We all smell bad, but we don't know it because we all smell identically horrible. And you just have fun, like fly season in Iraq, which is amazing. And then I think they're like snowbirds. They go away when the heat comes on, and so you have fun with those things like that. And even in being wounded. I do remember, and I'm glad you asked if there's any kids, one of my Marines got shot through both legs as he was running, and it just nicked one of his private parts, barely. And so I went out there, and I get him in the ambulance, and we're riding away, and he looks at me and he goes, "Chaps, I'm good, I have my package." And so humor gets you through. It's hot, you get tired of drinking water to stay hydrated, but you have to drink water to stay hydrated, and so you pick on each other and have fun.
Do you ever find a situation, or did you ever find a situation where people couldn't comprehend why you were there? And what do you say to them then?
Oh, absolutely. Some people are like, "I'd rather have another watchstander. I need someone to stand watch," because we can't take command as chaplains, so we can't stand watch on the bridge. When the captain sleeps, if that's true for what goes on here. But one of my experiences oftentimes you have to lead up. Even if you don't know you have to lead up. You have to teach those above you some things. And we were in Fallujah Surgical, and we'd had a mass casualty situation where I had about 6 to 8 Marines in there, and my second in charge, he was kind of a godless man, and he didn't understand, and he tried to kick me out, and I was like, "That's not happening. This is my job." And but I said, "Just pay attention, sir." And so one of the things I would do with my Marines, and Marines are amazing. They're a depiction of what I learned from all of my different country LNOs. I would always ask them these same questions. Is your country like this? Do you do these things? And to the T, there's so many good things across the board from our allies. And so I don't ever want to minimize that. But I would put my forehead on my Marine's forehead. So now my mouth is at his ear and his mouth is at my ear. We're having these miniature conversations. And I'm just talking to them. First question they always ask is, "How are my Marines?" No matter what goes on, they want to know how everyone else is. But I taught my XO that night, because I said, just pay attention. If you don't understand this spiritual piece, pay attention. And the vital signs would come down and go to normal, because there's peace there. When you give people some hope and some peace, not false hope. False hope is not good. So if it's bad, you have to be realistic with them. But you really you whisper in the ear, you show them care, and they can talk to you without everybody hearing as well. So I just had to give him a visual lesson, and many others. I'd love to share with you if you have time, but I don't want to take from the panel from those aspects.
I'm sure that you're very happy for people to come and speak to you, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. I love people.
Yeah.
I love people.
Fantastic. I don't want you to give me false hope, Dr. Miller, but how can I live to 123? I want to know how I can live to 123.
Okay. Before you can achieve anything, and that is true for all of us in any area, you have to have vision, strategy, commitment, timing for the outcome.
What about gin? Does gin help?
Excuse me?
Does gin help at all?
Gin?
Gin. Or tonic, or vodka, or...
No, it's so funny. No, I'm allergic. I'm allergic to alcohol. How lucky am I? I'd rather eat than drink. Huh? But my daughter, she loves concerts, and she's a groupie. So Mick Jagger, or the Beatles, we go all the time. And she says, "Mother, you're like Mick Jagger. You're high on life, but you're not on drugs." They're speaking about so grateful for the moment. Like I said before, I repeat myself, death to me gives meaning to life. And being there, Tikkun Olam is a saying in Hebrew, repair the world. I heard Elie Wiesel. Anybody heard of Elie Wiesel? Yeah, he was a philosopher, Holocaust survivor. It's like the best human trait is curiosity. That's why we're in space. But also, the worst human trait is kind of not caring. empathy. We are our brother's keeper. So when I make people smile, and I'm telling you what you know already, uplifting, being positive, and it's not easy all the time. It's contagious, as is morbid and being down. So that's what, for me, to make people smile, to uplift. So I am just getting more of the same, and I'll never stop. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Thank you. I'll bear that in mind. But you look sensational. Do you have a fitness regime? What do you do?
Okay. I did not know that is good for you. I'm a little bit manic, as you can see. So I do not meditate. Boring. So when I go, nothing to do with you, because I go once a year to the temple. I don't read the scripture, pretty boring, but I like the music, and I like the So I have taken care, I've been in the gym all my life, 40, 50 years. I'm a runner, and I do routine every day. And I'm very proud of myself. Here I brag again. Many times I don't feel like it, but I do it anyway. So after COVID, no gym any longer. So I have a home, a room. I have the treadmill, I have the jumping board, I have the equipment, I have weights. So about an hour and a half every day, I do my stuff. And I watch Anderson Cooper at 3 or Wolf Blitzer at 5 or the other way around. And now I have also YouTube, a television, a smart television, and gives me the aerobic classes, energy. So doing that, plus being pescatarian, about 40 years ago, when I saw a video where the big cats and the lions, they eat up a whole deer and then they poop it out. And guess what? We have miles and miles of intestines, and it just lays there. It disgusted me. So I decided I'm not going to eat any more meat, nothing, So when I came back home, what, you're not going to have chicken on Passover? So again, so I then, it was too complicated, tofu. So I'm pescatarian, so I eat well, I exercise, I have a wonderful attitude of gratefulness to be alive. Good genes don't hurt. My parents are Holocaust survivors. My father smoked to the end, and my mother had high blood pressure. They lived in their 80s, so obviously I have a good gene pool. And by the way, I tested myself, 23andMe, and it's like, never mind, I could be lactose intolerant. But I have a constitution of an athlete. A short athlete, but still an athlete.
Fantastic.
And the rest is destiny. And I keep on saying, spirituality. I don't need to be, I know a lot, I know very little. I will never know exactly.
Curiosity, that's what we need. George, talk to me about Ricky Gomez portraying your dad in Band of Brothers. How was that?
Yeah, we're just so proud of Rick. He did such a great job, and he didn't have the luxury of having my dad around. But what he did have was all of the other guys who were in the unit. My wife and I were fortunate enough to go to the set to visit Rick and several of the other actors. And many of the actors had a veteran that they could keen in on. How did this go? How did that go? Fortunately enough, Frank Percani, one of the guys in the unit, was really close with my dad. And the kid who played Frank, James Matteo, was really close with Rick. So if he had a question about a certain episode or a certain scene or part of the war, he could talk to Frank, he could talk to James, and James could talk to Frank, and he could get information that way. He did such a great job. We're so proud of him. And the cool thing was for him, he could get information from the several books out, naturally Band of Brothers, but then there was another book out called Parachute Infantry. And in Parachute Infantry, if you've ever read that one, or if you like that area of history, I would read that one. About halfway through, there's a lot of my father, and that's Webster's book. Webster was the guy, the Harvard guy, and they used to kind of get on him about that. But there's a lot of my father in Webster's book, and I found out a lot more myself. I found out how really crazy my father was. You know, we all have a dad, and he's our dad, but my dad was even crazier than I thought he was. So, but overall, we're just so happy with Rick, and I see Rick occasionally. There's certain events that go down in the Band of Brothers world. There was an anniversary 2 years ago in New Orleans. What HBO did was they brought in all of the a bunch of the writers, a bunch of the actors, and all of the support staff, Meg Lieberman, Kurt Sandusky, and then they brought in 5 of us kids. So, and we took part in a panel discussion, and Rick and I were part of this panel. So I get a chance to see him often, and so it's neat to catch up with him.
Thank you. Speaking about books, Dr. Miller, I'm right in saying that your book is going to be available in the library here?
Which book?
I don't know.
I have 3. Which book are you talking about? No. Someone already approached me. They got 2 books and they bought them. I will be up there and signing them. And like I said, I repeat myself, here I go again, but I use the word elder whenever it's convenient. I cannot get over my good fortune. These little tiny kids out of nowhere look at me now. And yeah, the possibilities are for all of us, because remember, you're all here. It doesn't matter where, age is a number. Not what we cannot do, what can we do? And we are more alike than different, and being there by giving we get. So,
what do people do if they want you to sign their book?
excuse me?
If people want you, obviously people will want to read the book, if they want you to sign it, what do they need to do?
Again, I usually am not in charge on that. I could, when they're finished here, but there's some people that bought it and they're there and they put their name to whom they want to be dedicated. I can, if the books are there, that's what they do.
Very good.
Then I could just having the name, and I can just say one of my sayings that you've obviously heard me already. You know, life is an amazing journey. Enjoy it. So it's like there are only 10 of each. So again, if some of you won't get it, I think you might have gotten one of those bookmarkers. They're wonderful.
Okay.
Amazon, Amazon.com. And if you,
Okay, we've done the plug now.
I don't push it.
Let me finish with you, Robert, if I may. Now, I did say that I wasn't going to ask you about embed journalists, but I've decided that I am. Tell me about embed journalists, what that means. I know what it means because I've been an embed journalist.
So it's okay, I wasn't going to answer that question by just saying not all of them are as professional as you are. No, I think when we talked early in my lecture yesterday about the difference in people telling their story today has to do with just the advance in technology, the 24-hour news cycle. We had correspondence in previous wars all the way back. But when you have an embedded journalist or producer in a unit, they're with you in that unit. And so they're kind of assigned to you and you have to find a seat for them. And they go out and they don't always make the leader happy because now they're giving up a seat. You have gear and different things. And because my first combat deployment was so early in that, we're still learning. And so when you're learning, you're kind of concerned about what might be printed. So you're concerned about what you're going to say. And so you don't talk very much. And I mentioned in my first one, I just would see the correspondent come and I would walk the other direction. I was like, I'm not being interviewed. But they do a great job in a lot of aspects of getting that story out. And it's up to us on the other end what we do with that. And that's always, I think it did spark a little bit of post-traumatic stress in previous veterans because they're seeing it live. And I think we're doing a better job in many of the countries that are involved in taking care of our veterans. We're getting better. We haven't always been great. But again, that plays into the betterment of it. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully, as a journalist,
Say one more
you
thing.
one tiny little thing because I'm going to get in trouble and you wouldn't want that. So really quickly,
Very quick, only if it's okay.
go.
All right, time is important. Speaking about PhD, I was really surprised because I'm a psychologist, very detached. But when it happened in Israel, October the 6th, and I saw the mayhem, I saw the atrocity, the killings, all that kind of thing, I could not keep away from CNN for 2 weeks. I didn't sleep. I literally relived something that I never did. And my sleep is all messed up, and I'm working on it. But it's like, yeah, it's not fake news. Because better people, they say, oh, they want to take advantage of it. No, there is something like that trauma. It could be covered, sometimes we never might experience. Some are more resilient, and some are really the homeless. Are so many.
Yeah, 7th of October, almost the anniversary, of course, of what happened that dreadful day, and still people being held hostage in the tunnels, and tens of thousands of Palestinians are being killed. We really need to sort that out. Apparently, I'm told that we're 90% there when it comes to a peace deal, but it's still not over the line. Let's see what happens. That's what I do in my day job. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to each of you, and an absolute privilege for you guys to have all 3 of your guest speakers on one stage. So I'm sure you'll want to thank them. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, also a big round of applause for Kimberly for helping us coordinate all this.